Yes. Okay. I am very delighted to extend a very warm welcome to you, to Hans Ragnar and Linn Pei-Han expedition from Tropic to Arctic. My name is Elle Nystad. I am a young Sami activist, and I will be hosting you today. We have 3 artists who will present around 40 minutes each. These fantastic artists are Ánde Somby, Linn Pei-Han, and Hans Ragnar Mathisen. And the first artist who has his presentation will be Ánde Somby. He is a Sami person who comes from the village Sirma that is located on the border between Norwegian and Finnish territory. Ánde grew up in a traditional reindeer herding family. He is a fluent Sami speaker and a traditional joiker. At the age of 12, he was sent to a boarding school. In the face of the grief of losing his life at home, he made 2 decisions. He wanted to get an education in law to protect his culture. His second decision was to be curious about joik. He got his education in law and teaches now at the law faculty in Ánde. And he also has been a professional joiker since he was a teenager. He has been on tour both in the US and Canada. He has been performing in many countries. He has produced records with other joikers, and he was also a founding member of the record label DAT. For a long time, his focus was to document joiks and perform them as authentic as possible in the traditional style. He also had the group Vayas that published a CD in 2006 based on melodic joiks and electronica. In the recent years, he has developed an expressive style in traditional joiking. His theme is the people of Earth. Let's welcome Ánde Somby on the stage.
Thank you, Elle, for this wonderful introduction, generous introduction. I'm going to present, I just want to find the presentation. The title is People of the Earth. The role, and I want to focus on the role of art in indigenous struggles for rights. It has something to do with the relationship between art and society. And the questions that meet us there are, is art able to change the world? Is art willing to change the world? And what the significance of indigenous peoples, and then we'll bring examples from the Sami struggles for rights in Norway. As mentioned, I get my daily bread from the university where I teach at the law faculty. So these things, the topics that I have mentioned, we are going to look at the first topic, or first we'll take to meet the significance of being indigenous. The thing is that being indigenous is a political act in itself. First, you end up as an evidence, and you are also the reminder of historical injustices. By being present, you both evidence and you remind something that was not very good. So one aspect of that is that the Norwegian population is under a very heavy rug of ignorance. I have made a name to that, and that is the big Norwegian ignorance. So if we then go to propaganda theory, and we ask what the propaganda theory will say the implications of that is. So then the propaganda theorists, they tell that the school that produces partially informed citizens, and those citizens believe that they are fully informed, that school is a vehicle of propaganda. Even if that institution never produces any actual propagandistic claims, but just by this omittance, that they omit the information. Because if we think of ourselves in this population as that we are the judge of life, when we are the judge of life, then as a judge we ask the witness, will you tell us the truth, nothing but the whole truth? And that also implies that you shall tell everything you know, and you shall not omit anything. So that is what the witness, the school, has done to the judge, to the people. And they then end up in very odd situations, because they have learned in the school that everything is okay with the society. And then all of a sudden they are confronted with a lot of injustices. People who have been sent off to boarding schools, the fact that a big percentage of the Sami people don't know their language. They have loss of language is a huge problem in the Sami society. Loss of family traditions. People do not know any stories about their great-grandparents, their grandparents' lives, and so on. So very much of the records that we need in our lives have disappeared. And then you also have the shame of being uninformed. We see that in particular when a Norwegian judge meets a Sami case in the court of law. Then some used even to be a little bit proud of saying that, well, I don't know anything about the Sami people. So they're a little bit of pride of their ignorance. But we see that also when new ministers enter their tabouret, and then they also meet the pain of this ignorance. So that is the first thing, that you never choose as an indigenous person. You don't choose to be that evidence and that reminder of this historical injustice. The second thing that makes the fact of being an indigenous is that you end up being a challenge to conformism and cultural homogenization. We meet an interesting phenomenon, because there will be a difference between an empire and a nation state. An empire, for example, Russia, they have a tradition of having a lot of different peoples. So they are not so stressed about the fact that there are some that the people is not homogeneous. That not everybody speaks Norwegian, not everybody dressed the same way, not everybody share the same values, and so on. That also applies to the other two nation states that the Sami live in, namely Sweden and Finland. Russia Empire, so there the difference is not so much that the presence of the Sami people is itching the national skin and pride. There, the problem is much more that the Sami is one population among very many other populations, and that means that that in a world where the whole population is gray, then you end as the dot of color, that you are the one who carry colors. And that can both have positive sides as well as negative sides. It will depend on, if you're a shy person by nature, then it's a burden to be the one who carry the color. If you are not that shy, then you can get attention. I have a personal story to tell, because I also have grown up on the fringes of Norwegianization in Boilemat. And there, what happened during my generation was that almost no other children were using gaktis. I had a mother who was very culturally conscious, so she insisted on me wearing gakti. And we went to the church, and there the grown-up people, like the priests and all those people, they used to say that, "Oh, how wonderful, a little boy that has a gakti on." And when I came out to the boys, they said something totally different. They said that, "What is this, a little lap devil here?" And I ended up in very good fight, actually. I didn't get the Christian message that was conveyed in the church, but I got this mixed message from that it was a mixed experience to have a gakti on. So then we have said that the first is that you are a reminder of something, you are the evidence. The second is that you break the conformism. The third thing is that you are the obstacle to resource extraction and capitalist expansions. So your sin by being an indigenous is that you are the way. There is, you can imagine that you are, for example, in a very crowded pub. There is the beer. You're standing here. It's very crowded, and then there is this walrus of a person who wants to have a glass of beer. You are in the way. So, so then your sin becomes that you are in the way. So it can. The walrus wants to get the beer, and it depends on what the walrus then did, how the attitude of the walrus be. And that has been the case in many of the recent protests, including the one that Elle also has been in. So that is a sketch of this, the sin of being indigenous, and that you haven't chosen that situation. There are these three things that make you a problem. So then we can ask, is it possible to help out in that situation? We can say that if Sami people go into political parties, maybe they can inform the political parties, and then everything will be much better. Or we can say that if the Sami people use the legal system, go to the courts, litigate the cases, the courts make their decisions, then everything will be fine. So then we will have a look at how art could, what role could art play in it? When we ask that question, then we meet two aspects of art. Art can be looked as in itself that it has its own autonomy. So art wants to concentrate on what art cares about. Or you can look at art as an instrument that you want to achieve some goals using the art as your instrument. And we can have a little glimpse on both of these approaches. If you start with art and autonomy, so we can say that there are both arguments for and arguments against that art should only be follow its own agenda. And we have examples in Sami art, for example, the issue of abstract art, where art insists on that we are not any type of missionaries here, because this will have some implications to the legitimacy of the art. So, but that is this question. Then we can have a look at when art is used to a goal. You have a goal, you want to achieve it, you use art as a means. And then again, we get two situations that art can be in service of government and art can be in service of freedom movements. If we look at art in the service of the government, then the government will tend to want to emphasize the beauty and the rationality and the wisdom of the nation states, and they use art as a means of communicating that gospel. And we have examples of instrumental use of art. James Montague's flags, which from 1917 is very famous in that respect. So, and we can say that that governments has a huge advantage if they start to use art to further their agendas. They have all the money, they have the distributive power, but we have a lot of examples that are not very pleasing to think about. So then we can look a little bit closer when art is in the service of freedom movements, where you and you think that in a Sami and indigenous context that the art could help you to preserve culture and identity. And that has been important in Sami art. Maybe one of the most manifest things is Nils Aslak Valkeapä's record produced in 1968, Joikuja, som betyder joiker på norsk. Det är finsk, it is a Finnish word, and Nils Aslak did something artistic with the yoiks. He put music on traditional yoiks, and that was a huge experiment, and it was very brave act, because there were so many norms in yoiking that were pretty strict, but he sort of broke that wall, and from that moment, when this record came, then yoiks changed in the perception also among the Sami, that yoiks were not then pure documentation, pure documents. From then on, yoik became an expression that one related to, and one also understood the flexibility of what is possible in yoik. Then art can also be helpful for self-expression and healing. We have the situation that very much of the Sami culture has been subject to shaming. So in some respects, we have been packed into a very thick and heavy blanket of shame. That we have been ashamed of a lot of things in the Sami culture, that we have been ashamed of the language. There have been sayings that you can't do anything with Sami languages. In Karasjoka, for example, it has been a saying that you don't make it longer in this world than to Laxel with Sami language. The clothing has been shamed. The religion in the form of superstitions, for example, we are still today, we are pretty ashamed about the underground people, Goficht. Imagine what an explanatory power, including Gofichtarat, would have, for example, to legal questions. One example is the question of land rights. That the mystery is, why didn't the Sami people put fences and state their ownership in documents? Why didn't they do that? One possible explanation is that they lived in a world where to start to own the land would be in violation with the people under the ground. So that it was an adequate way of being in their environment, that they didn't start to act as owners, because they rather would be perceiving themselves as custodians rather than owners. And then we see that they end up in a squeeze between the government, who says, where is your fence, where is your document? And the underground people who says that don't you come with any fences here, or so and if we for example, include these elements of Sami traditional thinking, then it will be easier for us to understand this mystery about the lack of documents. I have been working with yoiks, and this is my uncle Ivar. So when I decided to be serious about yoik, I was 12, 13 years old, and then I realized that all the people around me, many of them were very, very good yoikers. But they were so ashamed of their yoiking. So I came there with a recorder and begged them to record one yoik here. Do you know one yoik? Yeah, perhaps I know one. And then to get the knowledge, to get them to record, it was an extremely hard work. So Ivar, my uncle, was very important for me and my yoiking. So I was then 14. I went to his house, and then I asked him to yoik for me. And we made, he was very willing, and we recorded like an hour of yoiks. And the implication was that I got a repertoire when I then started to perform. But in his family, then we got the act of yoiking became forbidden. We couldn't record anymore, and we couldn't talk about the yoiks anymore. So then life went on 16 years, and then his family situation changed. His wife was accidentally ended up in the elderly care. Then he was alone. And then I came back again with the equipment, and we recorded, and it ended up publishing 2 CDs with him. The most beautiful thing I ever have seen. He was also very ashamed of his skills. And then we went to the Riddo Festival. We had published the first CD. We went to the Riddo Festival. And then he got this huge group of Sami youth around him. And they already knew his yoiks, and they were so happy about his yoiks. To see a face that flourishes, that a closed face that opens up, that's the most beautiful flourishing that one can see. And I have seen that. I saw that in when he met the young ones. So in that respect, this was very good. And then we, of course, we can use art to political activism. We have many exponents to that. Ánde, this is from his part in the Venice Biennale this a couple of years ago. So, and he is a vibrant voice, and we are very fortunate now that we have a big group in a generation who are using art in political activism. And then art can also be important in educational outreach and cultural understanding, because art is not aggressive. Art will always be possible to interpret in a right way. Art is almost like in Sami humor, because we have been living in small groups, and that means it's not like living in a city. Here you can choose the people who you want to relate to and who you don't want to relate. When living in small societies, you have to have the same people all the time, and that has some implications for how you communicate that. If you want to, for example, address criticism, then here in the town you can say out your criticism, and that's that. Take it or leave it. But in the small societies, you will have to, for example, use humor. Tell a joke. The joke implies criticism. And then the addressee of the criticism will then have an emergency exit if the criticism becomes a little bit too hard. And you can think that, well, it was just a joke. And then he takes the next portion after a while, thinking, well, maybe there was something there. And so that means that you can take criticism in portions, so that it will be easier for you to consume the criticism. And art works in the same way, that you can tell your message, but you don't pour the whole message over people at once. But it will be possible for people to take that message in portions, and then you can consume the portions that you manage to do. Then you can live a little bit with that, find your confidence. You find your confidence. You're so confident that now you are ready for the next portion. So in that respect, art can be a constructive way of telling messages that can be demanding. And then we of course have imagine that we also have artists now who live with their art. It means that people can live and thrive, and that is such a wonderful thing for a culture. And then we also have the reclaiming and revitalization of indigenous spaces, and there we have this wonderful example of Hans Ragnar's Sami map. That imagine he has been looking up a lot of archives. He started from the point that very many of the Sami place names were hidden under heavy blankets of shame, and then he has been sitting there, going from archive to archive, looking through a lot of documents to find the names. And then he has made this beautiful piece of art. And it was so important that this was so beautiful when when this was made, because at that moment, the moment of history, then people only saw themselves as very ugly. That Sami culture is a dirty culture with ugly melodies and ugly and ugly and dirty and dirty. Those were the attributes. And then we got this beautiful piece that every Sami could hang on their wall and then study the name. They bought magnifiers and they looked at what are the place names where I come from, and it gave such a good energy to people. And I'm so fortunate myself, because I was in the early teenage years when this map appeared. I still remember it was my sister Mari who gave that as a Christmas present to me. But then there are also the red flags of art, that it can impact on cultural practices, and that it can have. So one example of cultural practices is also Nils Aslak's record, that meant that some of the yoiks were flattened. So there were some technical elements in the yoiks that were erased and forgotten. For example, this yoik. Ánde Undan stories, undan rikis. Thy every melody, your lofterion. So that was Nils Aslak's variant of that yoik. And the traditional one was Man panjon panjon alltid. A rather technical yoik that you have to remember all the twists, and you have to sort of know where you put the energy and so on. So that was a part of the prize. And then the potential for internal conflicts. That you can be met with that the claim that, well, you are elite. And what kind of elite are you? Are you economical elite? Where are your millions? Are you educational elite? Where are all the ancestors with all the professorships and whatnot? So it is one claim, or that by bringing this Gakti to remind us of our pain. So then we are again at this the starting point, that you are a reminder, and that can also point inwards. For example, Totalteatrets Siste kväll med mamma dokumentar och film. is an artistic expression of that very pain. And that by practicing your culture, you are actually excluding us. By speaking Sami, you are excluding the non-Sami speakers. By wearing this gakti and by pointing out that, well, maybe this detail there, it is significant and so on, then you all of a sudden are called the gakti police or something. Or if you are cooking meat and then you explain the old codes of how to distribute the meal, then you are a museum. So that's one challenge, one red flag, and that what we can also end up being in the situation that you are in the way. So by protesting against these windmills, you are avoiding that there would be much more development in our area. It would come some necessary industry to the place and so on. And also this you cast shame on us that we get a hybrid, because traditionally Sami culture has been a collectivistic culture, that you belong to a group and you have to be loyal to the group. We have, for example, words in Sami. Puolakka is one word, where you are the one who brings shame on the rest. So by and we also see that in the movie Sissifel med Mamma, where one of the siblings is showing up at the family party. And then we also have the intellectual property rights challenges, as we always will have when we try to translate tradition, pieces of our tradition into the modern space. And that can be a very challenging situation and a project for an artistic community to deal with, because we have all these questions. One example is that we have the huge problems with the Sami drum nowadays, where it will the tourist industry are taking that in the use. And then we also have, and I guess we just start to see that challenge, and that is when Sami art steps into the to the international art scene. Then there are the gravitational laws that are in the international art scene. They are pretty different. That who is who in the art world, and the art world accepts the Sami project and so on. And we are just beginning there. Imagine it's just a few years ago that the Sami art was displayed first in Documenta and then in the Venice Biennale, and I saw the reviews, and I have been very happy for the reviews that Ánde has got from her Tate exhibition. She's having a huge exhibition in Tate in Cornwall in England, but it is a very exciting and a little bit frightening scenario. How the international art scene will deal with Sami art and what the outcomes are. So we can both think pretty utopian on that, it will be very good, or we can also think dystopian on that it will mean a lot of challenges. Because then we will meet, for example, the pressure to conform to the demands of the market and the challenge of that the culture becomes a commodity. And we have the risk of cultural appropriation. I'm coming towards the end of my presentation, and then I wanted here at the end to look at because artists are often individuals, and it's a very heavy burden for individuals to carry, because the starting point is that the indigenous people situation is a hard, heavy situation of land grabs and red-listed languages and a lot of internal anger in the society. So it's a heavy, heavy situation to be in. And then for the individuals to carry that situation can be a heavy, heavy burden. So therefore, I think that the people who manage to go on and on with this burden, I'm so impressed about that. Words cannot tell how impressed I am about that. That we have the Sami artists who are really working with this. So we could say we have looked at the fact to go into political parties. Will that help? We have tasted. Will that help that we use the court of law? And we have now looked into, will it help that art takes a role? And we can say that the art, it is a bullet. It is a bullet. It helps a lot. But it's not a silver bullet. Art will not be able to solve all our problems. So, thank you so much for your attention, because you have given me the most precious thing, and that is your ear and your attention. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Ánde. And if there are any questions from the audience, we can take the questions now before we take a little break. Ánde, don't go. You need to answer the question.
Thank you. So yeah, so we're just handing this microphone out to anyone who wants to take a question.
Thank you so much for sharing your opinion. And I have a question about when you talked about the fence. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, you talk about that that you don't want to violate the people underground.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're referring to the ancestors, or I was just curious.
Yeah. Let me clarify that in the Sami ontology, how we traditionally see the world is that there is a population who lives under the ground. And they will appear sometimes. Ontology is about the question how the world is configured. What is in the world and what is not in the world. For example, if we have a materialistic understanding of the world, then this room has only chairs. If we have a non-materialistic view of the world, then there are 3 times more of listeners here than your naked eye sees. So I'm here with my 3 spirits. You perhaps have, some of you have more spirits than I have, and some of you maybe have less spirits than I have. So it depends on if you think, if you recognize and acknowledge the spirits, the spiritual side in them. So in the Sami traditional view, you have this underground people. And my father actually met one from the underground. He was a reindeer herder, and he was on the tundra there, and he came with his reindeer flock. He's a young man then, and he's taking a little rest behind a stone there. And there comes this old lady to him, and she says, young, can you move your flock a little bit? Because as they stand now, they cause sand to fall into my milk. And he says he's a little bit frightened, I guess, because he denies this request. He says, no, I'm not going to move anything. And then she says that, young man, you'll see. And then she disappears into the flock. And moments later, then the flock starts to run in panic. And this is the time when there were wolves. So he thinks that it's the wolves that attacked the flock. So then he has to pack his things and then start skiing after the flock and maybe take a fight with the wolves or whatnot. And the flock moves there and finds a new rest there, and he settles for the night. So he becomes so curious about that was it really a wolf that took that flock? And then he goes there and he then goes skiing around the tracks of the flock to see if there are possible wolf tracks there. So there were no wolf tracks there. And this is a kind of an everyday story from his practice and his fellows' practice, and we still have those situations. For example, underground people can hitchhike when we are driving a car. Then there can be somebody hitchhiking there. You stop, and this person comes in. And, you have a conversation, and this person then all of a sudden is disappeared. And the rule is that if you try not to pick him up when he's hitchhiking, then you can end up that he's sitting next to you when you're driving. So, it is also an existential phenomenon in the everyday life, but it has something to do with the Sami spirituality. And the reason why I bring up this question in a legal context is that how people perceive their legal situation and what they're obliged to do, that has legal implications.
Are there any more questions? No. Then I think thank you, Ánde, and we will have a short break.
Yeah, you can tell people where.
Okay, now the break is over, and we will have the next presentation by Pei-Han. She is an interdisciplinary artist working with research-based art. Her projects delve into the intersection of politics, environmental justice, and human rights. She combines analog and digital data, forensic site-specific installations, and empathetic methodologies. Lynn holds a B. Arch in Architecture Design from Shingen University in Taipei, Taiwan, and MFAs in Trondheim and Tromsø. Her works exhibition across Norway and internationally, including Trøndelag Center for Contemporary Art, Tromsø Kunstforening in 2022, Inside Out Gallery in Sacramento in 2021, and among others. She has been working with Hans Ragnar Mathisen throughout Kulturrådet, Kunstnerassistent forordning since 2023. And now you can take over.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. I'm a bit nervous, but I'll try my best. So I will talk a little bit why I'm here now and doing all this, what made me in this position today. So it will all start from 2019, and that was the turning point that I decided I need to come to Europe to study because I don't know if you guys know what's going on in 2019 in Hong Kong. They have this revolution between the Hong Kongese citizens to the Chinese party because they have this agreement of 50 years, one country, two systems. At that time, China broke that promise. So 2019, I was really following the revolution in Hong Kong, and you can kind of see that my painting with that Jesus, that was the background of the Hong Kongese revolution. And I was like, okay, I have to come to Europe. So that was my ticket to come to Tromsø because I got accepted in Tromsø Academy in 2020. So before I come to Norway, I heard about Sami, but I have no idea. Like I don't know anything about it because I'm from Taiwan, and here is like very far away, and we don't learn that, or we don't really hear any news about Sami in Taiwan. So when I came to the academy, and I remember the first workshop is with Brita Marakalaba. We were learning embroidery, and she took us to this university in Tromsø and showed us this big painting, big embroidery in the university. And I think that was kind of the eye-opening of the Sami culture. And I didn't have any idea of how the people can express their kind of struggle through artistic practice, because as she said, I didn't have background in art that time. And I think in the academy here is a little bit more special because we have a lot of workshops related to Sami. As Ánde Somby, I don't know if you remember, we went to Tromsø, and that was the first time I heard yoik. I think it was 3 years ago, and we were making soup in the snow, and I was like, "This is so crazy! How do people does that?" And I didn't dress up properly, and I don't think I don't think I have like the evolution. Evolution for me, I can't really adjust in that harsh condition. I was a little bit struggle to live outdoor in the snow, but I try to experience throughout that, and it kind of think that how could these people live like this? It's crazy, and I think it gave me this input that I want, because I can do it. So it makes me want, like, I want to challenge myself at the same time. And also, we also have this summer school with academy. We went to Tromsø also, and that time, that was the first time ever I learned how to chop the wood. Because it's in Taiwan, we are so speed for season. Like, I never even think about chopping wood. Like, it's not a concept of the skill I need to learn. And we also also need to we also learn how to pick the berries, and we live in the labu and we make fire, and that was like the whole week workshop, and that was also really eye-opening. So I start to have all these inputs, and also from Hugo. I think he has this um, artist talk in the academy is talking about something with decolonization, and that time it started to give me this input that, oh, the people actually use art as a politic goal for achieving something. And I just reflect my background. As I said, what kind of afraid in 2019 that Hong Kong have this revolution. I was kind of afraid that next probably is Taiwan. So that was the reason I came here. Like, I would never want this happen, but I'm not that naive to think this will never happen. So after, I think how I met Hans Ragnar was in Somby festival. 2 years ago, I was working in a festival, and we met in this Tromsø museum. You were talking about this relationship with Norwegian and the Sami, and this gave me another input. So I went to talk to him, and and I say, hey, I'm from Taiwan. I introduce myself, and you say, oh, I have been to Taiwan a long time ago, and yeah, this we start our conversation from there, and in that time, I also write my thesis. I'm doing all this research of what is the relationship with Norwegian society and Sami community. Because it's also, if you're from outside, for example, if you're from Taiwan, that is very far away. You have all this image about Norway have Nobel Peace Prize. So, like, the image of Norway from outside is, you will never talk anything about colonized indigenous people. So I was doing this research, and I remember we went to Beijing Home, and you brought all those photos in the 70s from Taiwan, and you show me all those things, and it's really, really weird feeling, because in the Taiwanese history is when Hans Ragnar was in Taiwan that time, that was under the Chinese martial law. And I born in the democracy period. So what you see of Taiwan and what I grow up of Taiwan is totally different era. And I think that time you also kind of think Taiwan, that time they have one China policy. So you also kind of think Taiwan is have relation with China in that sense. So I think this relationship is really interesting in the sense that I have this outside perspective of Norway, and you have this outside kind of perspective of Taiwan. So, and I went to your exhibition in 2022 in Tromsø Kunstforening, and I interview you about, because I'm doing this graduation project. Do you remember? Yes. And I interview you, and I think I almost cry when I interview you, because my grandfather was passed away like that time, and my grandfather was a like he is very activist of, he want Taiwan to be independent. So he is kind of like he devote all his retirement on politic activities, and I was asking him like what, like he lived like 93 years, and I asked like what is, do you feel like there's something you haven't fulfilled, like do you have anything that you feel some regrets? And he say he really want to see Taiwan can be recognized as a country internationally. For me, I have a little bit different perspective, because I think the concept of country is a little bit, I'm not really fan of this concept. I also think country is kind of like a imaginary thing, you know, like I don't mind to belong to China if they can treat us well, or they can treat us equally, or like, this is not the things I'm concerned. But in the reality, it's not gonna happen. They're not gonna treat us as, you know, like not gonna be really good, as we can see from history in Xinjiang or in Tibet, or in, like, you read through the history and you can kind of expect what is gonna happen if they take over us. I don't really think that is important, but just because China doesn't treat us, they won't treat us really good, and my grandfather wish is that, so I start to do my project as a political advocate. And as Ánde say, all these things about shaming and the language and the culture is also happened to my parent generation, that they are not allowed to speak Taiwanese in the public, and they will kind of, the society, this systematic discrimination about the Taiwanese culture is really embedded even within me. Like I didn't even realize I also have that after many years, because my father have like really strong Taiwanese accent, and I also make fun of him when I was small. Like I didn't realize this is so embedded. Like and when I realized that after my grandfather passed away, and he wrote 3 of his biography he wrote all the colonial history, because he born in the Japanese colony before World War I, and after World War II, the Chinese troop came to Taiwan and took Taiwan by force, have this martial law. And when I born, the Taiwan already become democracy. So I read through all his biography, and I just realized there's so many similarity of the history, just like what Norwegianization or due to the Sami people. So that was the kind of the point, that how can I link all this relationship into my art practice. And I remember that time, because one of the reason I do this project, because I was walking around in Tromsø, and there was no any public statue that represents Sami. And I was a little bit surprised, because you have like 2 Ragnar Amundsen, like very huge there, and also have Seal somewhere, and also have Gandhi in the university, right? But there's nothing really related to Sami. So I was like, okay, if nobody gonna make, I'm gonna make one by myself. And and in the first, I was doing. I was use artificial intelligence to generate, because I want to decentralize. I don't want to make just one person as represent Sami. So that time I was merged some image, I think, with you and Ánde Somby also, and Jonango and Charlotte Bendix is my friend and my Sami friend, and some Taiwanese politician and my grandfather, and I was using that AI generation, and I project, that was the Polar Night 2 years ago. I was projecting in the Storgata on the building. So it's like, Polar Night is, you don't need to turn off the, the projector. You were there all the time and everybody can see. And that was my first kind of small project of doing this digital sculpture in the public. But I was still in this like, okay, but I want to make something solid, like hard, like Ragnar, like a big one, I make by a bronze. And I think after we have this few talk, you told me that like some Sami people, how do they live? They will always leave something to reproduce afterwards, and like the modern Norwegian industrialization, they would always just extract, just take. And I was just thinking, I also have this weird thinking, like I even went to the university in Narvik to check 3D printing metal, like I want something hard. But this is the problem of the war as well, right? If something hard, you want to make something harder to against that kind of like this competition that I also want to make something really hard. But I think after talk with you, I also decolonize my own thought. Like, so material wise, why should I use metal? Why should I use something hard? And I think that was also the time that Academy took us to Transdalen and we went to dig the clay from the ground. That was one of the seminar we do. So in that time, I took many clay and I start to make the project by clay. And you can see the shoes there. And that was the, what was the name? Is Komagal? Komaga? Yeah. And Komaga, yes. And that was the shoes. I scanned it and I 3D print with porcelain. And I glazed with the natural clay from here. And that was my public sculpture I installed outside of Tromsø Kunstforening. So it's like, you see, it's almost opposite. It's super fragile. And I remember that time was the 17th of May. And because I was make hole and I installed on the ground outside of Kunstforening. And I was like, oh, I was so afraid that people would kick or 17th of May, people just full of drunk people. And but at the same time, when you think about this material, it's like even it break, but it always lasts, it lasts there all the time. And actually this shoes is a little bit broken. So I print another one. I 3D print another one and I glaze with the clay because I went back to Taiwan. I glaze with the clay from Taiwan and also from Trondheim. And that shoes now is exhibiting in the south of Norway. Yeah. So I think how to talk about decolonize is not just about the politic, right? It's also my own thought that the society teach you what is strong, what is like all this stereotype of the statues. So I think I'm pretty happy I changed my thought in that sense that I didn't really use the material as metal. Yes, and I think there's many very important information is because in 2010, Norway changed Taiwanese citizenship, citizen live in Norway. It changed the nationality from Taiwan to China without let us know. we didn't have a civil war. We didn't have anything. It just changed one night. Like, you're Taiwanese yesterday, but you are Chinese the other day. So for me, this really hurts me a lot because I don't feel like I got respect in the sense that I think this is like a basic human right to say where you come from. I mean, I didn't say like, oh, I'm from Madagascar. I just say I'm from Taiwan. It's the reality, right? But they didn't give me this choice, and they changed by force. And a bunch of people like me, they raised like 3 million, something like that, the krona, to sue the Norwegian government in the highest court in Europe. But we lost the case in that sense. So I'm still Chinese in my Norwegian ID. And how I want to, like, when I saw your map, and that was kind of give me this like, okay, you're making the map to make Sami people to be recognized, and Norway want to erase us from the map. So I think it would be really good if we can make something together. And I came back to Tromsø 2 years ago, and I was discussed with you if we can collaborate through this artist assistance in from Kosoradal, and we apply and we got it, and we are thinking so we can go back to Taiwan now. So we met another Taiwanese girl, and she was the student of Hans Ragnar exhibition when he was 45 years ago. Like this girl knew the university, so she linked us to make this happen in the exhibition. So this last year we went back to Taiwan again, and I think I also have different perspective to see Taiwan through your lens, because as I said, it was not totally the same version of Taiwan. You and me, we don't know the same version, but like this time when I went back, I think it's really super emotional. I don't know if you know, but I cried a few times because it was a little bit overwhelming by taking someone to Taiwan again after almost half century. And yeah, so, and also he was telling us about all this nuclear waste in this island, because Taiwanese government put the nuclear waste in this island. So this island have like the highest cancer rate. And I was thinking like, or there's someone from super far away in the north was caring about this island. So I was thinking like, I should do something about it as well. So last year, I went back to Taiwan. I was shooting this film about this nuclear waste, and I made the installation based on that because I got inspired from Hans Ragnar. And I also moved to Trondheim 2 years ago, and I was doing the research of the Fosen case. That's the reason I was so into reindeer from there. So you can see I use a lot of reindeer as my material. So like this level, all the red is dying with reindeer blood. And also that map, I according to Hans Ragnar map, that map is also drawn with reindeer blood and with motor oil. So is in that painting you have this collision, the contemporary conflicts in that map according to Hans Ragnar map. So this is I think this is really fun collaboration in the sense that I'm kind of I'm doing this research based on your research, and I have my own diagram within that map. And if you see this silk print, one silk print is based on the nuclear waste with the ocean, and I AI generate with the image, and I Photoshop and print with silk. And this one with the reindeer lichen, and with the motor oil. So these two silk print is talking about the environmental justice. Yes, and this painting is Hans Ragnar when he was 35 in Lanyu, and I spent all my 35 with this project because the artist assistant thing is 1 year, and our contract is almost finished within 3 weeks. And I saw he sketched this, and I was like, oh, I must paint this because I'm almost not 35 now. So I must finish this painting. So this painting is our collaboration. Also, we went back to this place together when I was 35, and he was there when he was 35. So this is like a exchange student, but in different generation. I was here the whole year, and you were in Taiwan that time. So I don't think you can have this. Like this is almost like a fairy tale that you don't hear this as an everyday history. Yeah, so I think this is super interesting. And about I also make another film. Maybe you can see after the artist talk. The film I was shooting in Fosen, and I make the subtitle as my grandfather's biography. As I said, all the colonial history by he changed nationality 3 times from Japan, China, and Taiwan. And I make that video installation, but Fosen with the with the wind turbine was the background. And I spoke with the Taiwanese, but not really fluent because that was the result of the colonization from the generation trauma. So that is another installation. And you can see next to my grandfather's biography, that was my own biography. And Hans Ragnar helped me to book binding from the salmon skin. And I was written continuously of all the colonial events from Sami and Taiwan in that book. Yes, and that that calligraphy I wrote is my grandfather's biography, and that's why I called that Sami shoes. Is I called if I were standing in your shoes. So the kind of metaphor of I'm kind of understand what's going on with the Norwegian society and Sami community. Yes. So, yeah, I think I'm a little bit nervous. So if anybody wants to ask me some question.
Yes, thank you, Lynn. And I think we will have another break before our last presentation by Hans Ragnar.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you. I'm so nervous.
Okay, I hope everyone have some coffee now and had a little snack because now we will have our last presentation and it's by Ragnar Mathisen or Elle. He received his education from the Norwegian National Academy of Craft and Art Industries painting program and the National Academy of Fine Arts, specializing in painting and printmaking. Sorry. Mathisen has been featured in solo exhibitions and he has received commissions for decoration, and his works have been acquired by esteemed institutions, including the Nordic Council of Ministers, Documenta 14, and the Sami Cultural Council. His influence extends beyond exhibitions. He has organized festivals, exhibitions, and concerts, leaving a lasting impact on the Sami community. He was knighted and got a honorary doctorate at UiT in 2022 in his introduction of artist statement. Let's welcome Hans Ragnar on the stage.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, all of you? Good. So I don't need a mic. Well, first of all, I must express my gratitude and my pleasure to have been invited to come here and have a talk. I was born just after the war, Second World War. In a small coastal Sami community called Nystad. And the place where I was originated from is called Servegjeddi. And that is a very interesting name because Servi means common and Geddi means meadow, common meadow. So that's in my opinion, a Sami way of thinking that you cannot own the land, but you have it in common with others. And then you agree with others, can we use this part now? And while you can use that part this year and so on. And this coastal Sami area was the summer ground for Ánde Somby's family reindeer. So we are closely related, at least geographically. Alas, at that time, there was a tuberculosis disease was very spread out in our area. Normally, coastal Sami people could have been very well off, but the taxation from the Scandinavian government was so hard that people hardly had possibility to survive. It's said that once the government, it was a rightist party, Høyre, who ruled, they came and took away the cow, the only cow that the family had. And then they just show a bag of hvetemel, vad heter det? Wheat, yeah, yes. So it was a very harsh situation. I grew up and I got TB. First, I was at the various hospitals and sykestuer in that area. Then I came to the coastal hospital here in Tromsø. That is why I grew up here. I was there for about 7 years, and I found the records of my stay there. And during those years, I never got medicine against TB. And that was a shock to see. Because it said that doctor, he got 1 krone each extra for every patient that he had. So I think it was very suspicious. Anyway, I came out, and I came to foster parents here. My foster mother, she was an X-ray nurse in the hospital. And at that time, my mother, she was a lone mother. She was ill, so she couldn't. I couldn't come back home. So there were 3 patients there. So they had to choose from 3 different, 2 girls and 1 boy. My stepmother wanted a girl, but my stepfather he wanted a boy. So I came to them then, and I grew up. It was very well. They never replaced the real parents. And one day, my stepfather, after having heard about mentioned to my school friends, I want to be an artist. Oh, artist, there's no work. There's just play. So I asked my stepfather, can I ask you a question? Yeah. Art, is this work? Is that work to be an artist? Yes, that is art. That is work. Oh, I was very pleased with the answer. So I started my art education at the art and craft school for 2 years, and then the art academy for another 5 years. So I was very well educated. And as a graduate, we got a stipendium. And I chose to use my stipendium to travel as far as I could. And I traveled actually around the earth, taking the Trans-Siberian, and everywhere I came, I tried to contact the indigenous people. I also have sketchbooks with me, so I sketched a lot of people. And based on that, I had an exhibition in several places. Then I wanted to go to Taiwan because I heard some people said in Hong Kong, you know, if you want to, because I like Chinese food, if you want to really good Chinese food, the best place is to go to Taiwan because they have every kind of Chinese food there. Because Chiang Kai-shek, he took a lot of people from mainland China, and among them were many cooks. So I agreed to that, and I had. Then I met indigenous people there. First in the north area around Taipei, the Atai people and others. Then I went to the south, and there are 2 small islands there. Lüdao, which is a prison island, but very beautiful people there. The girls were very nice, so I photographed and sketched. And then to Lanyu, or Orchid Island, in the south. And I immediately got enamored with that place. So I met the indigenous people. I took into a hotel, but then one young man, Shimanewan, he came. You don't need to stay in hotel. You can stay with us. Come and stay with us. Okay. I was very happy to hear that. One of the tasks that I had was to go into the jungle and bring a huge log towards the sea. So on slippery stones and with with this, you know, this bath slippers. I went there, but we managed to get it there, down to the sea. And that was the start of a very, very beautiful boat. The Yami are famous for their beautiful boats. They are hand-carved and richly decorated. Unfortunately, I could not be there when the boat launching itself was to take place. But I have seen it on film. They are throwing the boat up in the air. It's fantastic. So I got many friends there, Sami and Yami. They are called the Yami people. And that is, you can see some of the watercolors I made around on the wall. In 1975, when I was still a student at the Art Academy, I asked my teacher if I could spend one semester to work on a special project that Sami, and a map with Sami place names. And he agreed to it. So that is how this map came about. I asked for fund from the Norwegian Cultural Department, and they was a bit skeptical. A map with Sami names, only Sami names, and no borders. So I decided I have to camouflage the political part of it with the decorations around. So it looks like an artwork. And doing that, they accepted. So it was printed in 5,000 copies in 1975 and was sold during the Oslo Sami survey and also during the hunger strikes and the actions then. Since then, I have had many painting exhibitions, and now Pei-Han and me, we have this common exhibition here, and I'm very pleased and happy that we can have it together. Well, I'm not sure how I shall continue, so I think if you have something to ask, it will be easier for me.
Can you talk more about your life in Taiwan in 1979?
Yes. In Taiwan, yes, I stayed mainly in Taipei in a youth activity center with the many foreigners there. I had a grant, but it soon ran out, so I have to earn some money. And then some older students say, "You go to the hospital, sell blood. You get well paid." Okay, I went there 3 or 4 times. Oh, they say, "Oh, your blood is very good." And the other thing I did, I teach English to elderly Chinese women because they wanted to learn English. You know, they hadn't had it in school, and so younger people would have had it. So that way, I also earned. And one said, "Mr. Teacher, your Chinese name is a very good. It's a very good name." My Chinese name is Ma Hanshi. Ma means horse. That is Mathisen, you know. Ma. Han is from Hans Ragnar. Hans. Han is the tribe of the Han people. Most Chinese people are Han people. And Shu is a teacher or a wise man. Mathisen became to Shu, Mahan Shu. Yeah, so I was very, very happy about that. In In Taiwan, I wanted to go to these small islands, and in Pengsu or Lanyu or Orchid Island, I got to know the people there. I was completely integrated into their society, which happens everywhere where I come, at that time at least. Are there more I should tell?
You decide, like.
I want to tell a lot, but
So tell a lot.
How long did you stay in Taiwan then?
I stayed for 5 months. 5 months. And of course, I learned Chinese. 我去过中文5个月. Yeah?
But you were recently back. Had it changed much from the period you were the first time and this period now?
Yes, of course it had. Of course it had. The small village in Wolves is now a town with streets and street corners. And but the people, many of them are still there. So they were happy to see me. And I was invited to schools to tell about my story and to have workshops, block printing, and also I was, when last time I was in Taiwan, I was very interested in these small signature stamps that Chinese used before. You know, they have signature, not like we have. This has changed by now. I don't think they have anymore. But I got to know one who made these. I got to know him very well. So I asked him to make a lot of them. So I have a very nice collection of these. And also I tried to make myself also some. So another time I should bring them and talk about it. Yes?
Could you tell more about the indigenous people in Taiwan? Did you see any differences and similarities?
Yes. Well, I had only short meetings with indigenous people south of Taipei. But some of them were Christianized, but a few had their traditional religion. I was also interested in the tattoo. They are tattooing their faces in a traditional way. I think maybe some is on the photos. Yeah. And the Yami, they have a culture that is in many ways similar to the old traditional Sami. They live off the land. They don't waste. They keep every part of what they are using.
They only fish certain amount and they don't do more.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had an exhibition also in Lanyi. Not a very big one, but it was very nice to meet again from that time. Some had changed and some still active. Are there more?
You were in television. It's a big.
This time, yes. Yes, I was interviewed. They asked me for a and I was talking. And then it was sent on the TV channels.
Yeah, it's gonna be showing in that TV screen.
Mm.
I will open it.
Yes.
Later.
And I had worshipped with the school children. I have I did some yoiking, teaching to them, singing, and they also sang back. So it was a wonderful interaction there. Yeah, a very good memory.
Because you were touring all over the world to meet indigenous people, right?
Yeah.
Did you find a way to connect all of them?
Of course, there are big differences, but the common, what is common is respect for the resources, respect for the land, respect for the elders and the traditions, and curiosity about the future and the modernity. Yeah.
At that time, did you share the same concerns within the lands and land grabbing?
Of course, of course. It was so sad to see all this. The Taiwanese government have been very bad in putting all nuclear waste where there are indigenous people. There was one of my friends. He was very handsome. I'd sketch him, and now part of his face is almost disappeared from here. It's very sad because of the nuclear waste. You know whom I talk?
Yeah.
Shingaramo.
Did you find many similarities in the?
Huh?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Did you find many similarities with other indigenous people around the world in terms of ontology or cosmovision?
In terms of
the ontology of the cosmovision, how you perceive the world.
Yes, most indigenous people in the world are under strong pressure from majority people, in some cases from minority people even, but that are non-indigenous. I would say that there are very few exceptions to that situation. The Sami are one exception. The Canadian indigenous people are also one exception, and the Maori in Aotearoa or New Zealand, another exception. There may be more now. But recently, they have discovered in Canada that horrible, these schools, the boarding schools, run especially by the Catholics, the mistreatment and rape of children and killings even. It's terrible. So to be indigenous can be very dangerous. Yes?
I am a young Sami activist, and sometimes times can be a little dark and miss hope. And do you have any, as a well-traveled man and have met other indigenous people, where can we find power to continue to be indigenous and be well? Or where do you find to?
Yeah, you must believe in it yourself. If you don't believe in it yourself, it's more difficult. You have to have a conviction. When I was small, very small, I was teased very bad at the hospital. They called me Finn Unge, which means dirty lap child, because that time I didn't know what that was, but they could see it on me. I couldn't hide my face or my hair, so I really didn't understand why they hid me. And I got some books from, very nice book with the color pictures from Margrethe Wiik. She gave me this book with the many color pictures. I liked them so much. But the older children, they harassed me. they teased me. So next time she came, she gave me a pear. I was so angry, I threw it against her, because I understood that it was because of she that the other children have teased me. But I met her later. She couldn't remember it and apologized. But she couldn't remember that. Yeah. When I was in Canada once, I traveled with a music and theater group called Song of Asia. I was invited to go there. I said, if you go to Canada, I will join you. Okay, they went to Canada. I met George Manuel there, the leader of the National Indian Brotherhood and the one of the creators of the World Council of Indigenous People. So I was there in 1975 in Port Alberni as an observer. I had the blueprint of the map with me that I put on the wall, and I partly had colored it with the crayons. Oh, and I said, this is a map of our homeland. And I suggested other indigenous people to do the same. But so far, I don't think there's only one exception, and that is this man, I forgot his name. He makes digital maps with indigenous place names. Yeah. But this, I think, is the first map of indigenous people, made by indigenous people, that is made. And yeah, I'm very happy about that. I have made several more maps later. Yeah. Any other question, please? Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a bit personal question, but when we went to school together at the gymnasium,
Yeah.
I remember you were interested in music.
Huh?
You were interested in music.
Yes, yes.
Ragnar.
Yes.
But where did that come from?
I think there was a program in that year there was a 150 years anniversary of the death of Wagner, and the whole class found it very interesting. And I had already been played piano since I was 12, so I was interested in music, and I followed it up. The bad thing about Wagner is he was a serious anti-Semite.
That's why
Yes, yes, but he was not a racist in that modern sense, and he had Jewish friends. And anyway, I went to this theater in Bayreuth, and once I also went with a Jewish friend, a friend of Jakob Mähler. We went there together also. And he was very impressed by the quality of the music, the orchestra also. Because the orchestra is hidden under the stage. You can see the orchestra, only hear it. So that was very nice. And I met the grandson, Wolfgang Wagner, too, and sketched him and gave him a print that I had made. And told about the Sami, of course.
Can you relate how you've been like treated as a Sami when you were small until now? Like, can you tell a little bit about what is the process?
Yes, yeah. When I was in the bed, we were bound to the bed, and the net was under. We couldn't release it. We were fastspent, we couldn't come out by ourselves. So, and there was one nurse. She was a sadist. She wanted to come to this place just to be bad to the children. One of her relatives said they couldn't understand why she wanted to be there, because she loved to make children cry. So she treated us very bad when she was alone with us. And she cut her nails till the blood came out both on her fingers, and she used a heckle crook to clear the ears, and got a hole in my drum. And when we are bathing, she held us heads under water. So that was water torture. So we children there, we had been there so long, we didn't know. Maybe this was a normal thing. We didn't understand. So one had a stopwatch. So we trained to see how long we could keep our breath. So I asked, but if you keep your breath very long, what happens then? Then you die, of course. So, and I actually tried to do it. I tried to hid under the bed and tried to hold my breath because I wanted to die. There was no point in living, I thought. But I couldn't keep it. So then one time I had got some stomach trouble, and this nurse, she gave me Clyster, and then suddenly it all opened up, and all on the blanket, and she was so angry. She took at the wreaths, she took a branch and hit me over here. So there were blood stripes. And when the doctor came out, what is this? Oh, yes, he was so nasty and terrible. So then he took her out and gave her a very hard lecture. And she was never to be seen there in the children's ward anymore. Yeah. But another thing is we had gips, vad hette det? Plaster. You know, I have a trouser of plaster from here to there and from here to there. And it was not changed often enough. So my right thigh is thinner than the other. And even now you can see some marks because it glued to the plaster. So it was quite terrible. Some also had the plaster where the head was, around the head. And when they grew, they had the hock, hva heter det? Hock in the back of the head. Yeah.
You have to tell about the escape into Donald Duck's universe.
Yes, you know that we had there were some who got Donald Duck and other comics, so it went around. We could all read it. I guess that's the way how I learned to read, and there was a school there also. And I wrote an article about that in one of the Donald Duck books that came later. Yes. Yes, it was terrible. And I was known as the one who never got visitors. My mother visited me only one time because she lived in Eastern Finnmark and it was very expensive. And some children, when the visitors, the family come, they were stopped at the door. They were not allowed to visit the children. And the reason, because when you leave, the children cry so much. So it was a very inhuman way of treating children. So I could have been drawn 2-3 times.
But you are still alive.
Huh?
You are still alive.
I'm still
and
alive.
a very strong person. You have survived, so the young people must learn of Hans Ragnar because it had the spirit inside him.
You know, I'm a twin.
Yeah.
I was born a twin, but my twin brother died. And in such cases, you said, the one who died, he gave his power to the one who survived.
You got it double.
Huh?
You got it double.
Yeah. And people used to say, they don't know that. They say, oh, you work for two.
Yeah.
And that is true.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the meeting you had with King 2 years ago? You went to Oslo to meet the King.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes. Because I got the order of St. Olav, I thought I should bring it here, but I didn't do it anyway. And then I was invited to the castle to meet the king. And I brought my guest book with me. And I met the king. He was a very nice man. He also had crutches. So, we have something in common because I have this stock also. Then I asked, can you write in my guest book? Yes, I can. So he wrote, congratulations with St. Olav's Orden, Harald R. So that was very fun.
So what did you have a meeting? What did he tell you?
No, I started to talk a little bit about my history like I have done now, but yes, he said, I know. So of course, he knew a lot about me before he met. I guess he have those people to find out when people meet him. So after me, there were some children who wanted to meet him. So I think I got 15, 20 minutes there. So
that was the part of the reconciliation process, or?
No, this was separate.
Okay. Because you also went to meet the king. No?
Who?
Elle.
Oh, yes.
Last year.
Oh, yes.
It was under the demonstrations in October.
Okay, good.
We demanded to tell the king about
the
Fosen case.
Very good. You know, it's interesting because the king, the royal family of Norway are part Sami. And that I can think you can actually see that in the Crown Prince, in my opinion. So if you go back to the time of Snefrid, who was the daughter of Svose, the Sami king, who was one of the wives of that king, Norwegian king. At least that's a legend. Are there more? Yeah?
It was very nice to know about your twin, because I have always admired your strength and energy. And now I got the
now you have got the answer.
Now I got the explanation.
Yes. I must tell you a little bit about Gofirtarat that Ánde mentioned, the underworld people. Because my great-grandfather, he was a Noaidi, he was a shaman. And I think I got some of that also. But I used it in art. But my grandfather, I had heard that he went to a place a little bit above Servegedi, and there he saw the underworld people. It was Achi ya Edni, Ganda ya Barni. It was a father and a mother and a son and a daughter. And they were small people like this, something like this. And they asked him, Mi lät den bikers namma. What is the name of this place? They asked him.
What is the name of the...
This place. Yeah. There are two. So this, the second story is another place where my aunt lived. So what? Mi lät den bikers namma. Then my uncle said, "Tällä johkakohpi." Johkakohpi. Because in Tana Fjord, you have many bottoms and many that you have the Detno River also, many small bays, and the one is called in Norwegian Torhop, and that is where the Børresen live. But that in some it's called Dorevuhpi. But Gohpi is another place further, a little bit further east. And that's where my auntie's house stood. And that's where many summers, me and my brothers and sisters, we were there visiting. So this is something that has happened.
We have the same in Europe.
You have, yeah?
Yeah, my aunt told me.
Yeah. Yes.
Så vi har en stein der som heter Huldestein.
Ja.
Eller sånn, det var en stor stein som lå rett ved siden av huset. Når jeg flyttet tilbake dit,
Ja.
så kom tanta mi og sa at dere må ikke ødelegge den steinen, for vi skal bygge ut. Så da brukte jo en sånn maskinkjører en hel dag på å flytte stein, og den var kjempesvær langt under jorda. Så den ble flyttet 3 meter lenger opp, og ligger der den dag i dag. Og jeg hadde tre med det.
Ja, så bra. Ja.
Men hun hadde kontakt med og fortalte meg om det, så det var gjengs.
Ja.
Hans Ragnar,
Ja.
det det samme som...
Snakk høyere.
Det det samme som nordmenn kaller for de underjordiske?
Ja, de underjordiske, ja. Du har altså Olda, det jo heter det på samme sett, på norsk hulder. Men man skal ikke ta for gitt at det et lån, et samisk lån fra norsk. Det kan like gjerne være et norsk lån fra samisk. Torsk, for eksempel. Jeg helt overbevist om at det et lån fra samisk. Dorski. Og likedan, jeg vet at revan, ræv, et lånord fra samisk. Revan. Ræv heter det på norsk og svensk. Ellers heter det på fransk, tysk, fuchs, fox, lupin på fransk og sånn, og så videre. Har det flere spørsmål?
Jeg skal bare si sånn, har du fortsatt den boka du skrev om den biografien om deg? Husker du den? Du skrev, jeg leste, holdt en utstilling for deg for mange år siden, nede i Nordland.
Ja.
Og da leste jeg, brukte den boka til å fortelle om det.
Ja vel, ja det har jeg nok.
Ja, for det så tak i den veldig interessant bok.
Var det en trykt bok, eller?
Ja, det var trykt, husker du da den ut. Så var det hele det stykket, det bildet ut av når du lå i senga på sykehuset, og en liten gutt med et sånt vindu.
Ja, riktig. Ja.
Og så hadde du en lang tekst om alle dagene du hadde tilbrakt der.
Ja.
Så det må dere se om.
Ja, Anne Marie.
Nei, jeg husker jo veldig godt kysten og barnestua og voksenstua. Jeg vokste opp like ved siden av.
Ja, de bodde ved siden av, ja.
Som unger så slapp vi inn,
uansett.
Men jeg vet jo at det var en søster vi prøvde å unngå.
Ja, og søster Ellen.
Ja, det var noe.
Ellen Widding. Hun var fæl. En annen, Arthur Solberg, han er fra Kåfjord, som de har i Sapelas. Han jobbet på Vilhaug gamlehjem, som nå er blitt noe annet, som kokk. Og så kommer han gjennom døra, så ser han nok søster Elle der som pasient. Og han snur, han vil, men så tenker jeg, nei, jeg må jo gi henne mat. Så kommer han og gjør meg, så spør hun, husker du hvem jeg var? Kjenner du meg igjen? Ja, det gjør jeg. Ja, jeg var en heks mot dere, sa hun. Ja, det var du, sa hun var virkelig en heks, altså. Utstudert sadist. Men det var jo også snille folk der. Det var jo hun Synnøve Sjursnes. Det er ikke så lenge siden hun gikk på. Vi hadde jo sånn treff borte på universitetet. Og vi har pleid å ha sånn treff. Oss få gjenlevende pasienter fra kysten, vi pleide å ha et treff hvert år i mai-juni-området. Ja. Men hvis det ikke var flere spørsmål, så vil jeg bare da takke for oppmerksomheten og ønske dere en god dag videre.
Ja, takk Hans Ragnar. Så tror jeg vi tar en 5 minutter pause før vi har panel. We will continue after a 5-minute break and then we will have this panel discussion with the artists.
Ánde, you can either sit or choose.
You can take the mic because I will be asking you first.
Yes. Okay.
So now we will have a small panel discussion with the artists that have had their presentation about their story and perspective. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. And I'm very honored to be invited to moderate this panel discussion. I have very much respect for all of you and your work. And the first question will be for you, Pei-Han. We heard from your story before how this collaboration between you and Hans Ragnar was made it. And what does this From Tropic to Arctic exhibition mean to you?
I think this is the whole journey of I came from Taiwan to here, and also I will never think about this will happen. As I said, this is not like everyday story. You don't hear this story all the time. So I am very honored to be in this collaboration, and I'm also very honored to be inspired as the Sami culture. As I said, like I also introduced Sami culture to Taiwan, and I think that's what I lacked before I came to Tromsø, because as born and raised in Taiwan, we were never hear about anything of Sami. So it was a great opportunity to bring Hans Ragnar back to Taiwan to really introduce the culture and maybe to let the people know also some sharing struggle that we face. And I think it was very success when Hans Ragnar introduced the Sami culture to Taiwan, because people really learned something that they could never learn at school or on the mainstream media. And I don't know, I feel full of emotion. I also have the new perspective to see the country I'm born. So this means a lot to me.
And I want to ask the same question of you, Hans Ragnar. What does this exhibition and do with Pei-Han mean to you?
It is a very good manifestation of the collaboration that we have had both in Taiwan and here. So here is a proof of that our culture have met and learned from each other and inspire each other.
Thank you. And I want to ask Ánde, because you recently had an event at David Norgård Museum in their series, The Butterfly Effect, with the title Being a Guest and Acknowledging Indigenous Land, where you discussed your own land acknowledgement practice and how those personal practices can be adopted on an institutional level. And I was wondering how would this adoption on an institutional level look, considering most of, for example, art museums are not Sami-owned museums?
Yeah, that leads us to the question how institutions speak. One is, of course, the dimension of ownership, who owns the museum, and that speaks something. But the museum, the institutions can speak meaningfully also under circumstances where we take this ownership and look away from the ownership, because it is possible to do that for example, courts are an institution that is very tradition grounded, long traditions, and they have protocols for example, on the ritualistic language. When the court opens, then they have this acknowledgement of, for example, honoring the court, so that everybody rise up when the court proceeding starts and when the judges enter the room and so on. And these ways of expressing respect and endorsement is powerful in itself. Art museums can do that by displaying this connection to the land. For example, the art museum here in Tromsø could do that by posters and so on. So the ritualistic language is one, but also in the programming or in the content for the institution. So, for example, the courts have had a problem when it comes to applying norms from the Sami society. So they need to adjust their methodological part. Maybe they also have had problems with understanding that facts also can have a political dimension to them. So that for example, what you consider as facts, we have had that with the problem of that. For example, traditional fishing. It has been a question of how the salmons factually swim and where they spawn and so on. And then we have had a divide that the scientific community has one understanding of the facts, and the traditional society has another understanding of the facts. When facts are disputed, then it will be the court's responsibility to take into consideration also the Sami understanding of facts. And it's very, for one illustrative example is that we have this little when a salmon is a fishling, then it's called väget, låsa väget. And that applies, a little river where väget, the small fishlings swim, is called vätji. Jägelvätji, Getvätji, and there are several place names that have this vätji name, which literally means that that's the little river where the little creek where the small salmon fishlings can thrive. And then it has been a practice, for example, when they have built roads, then they haven't understood this fact that these small fishlings, they need to go there to get protection from predators and so on. So they have done practical things like putting the tube so that it became an artificial waterfall there. So that the result has been that the small fishlings haven't made it to their sanctuaries. And that is due to the fact that the scientific community will not understand or are blind to the traditional knowledge. And such things need to be sort of in the court's programming. And that also applies to art museums, that they it will not be sufficient. It will be a nice little step that you have in the ritual side, that you have posters and in signs and so on, that you say that this museum is on the Sami territory and so on. But it also needs to be mirrored in the programming, that we actually display Sami artists and that we actually have discussions around Sami art and so on. So to shorten this answer, it is that yes, institutions can speak, but there is a multitude of expressions, a way of expressing this relationship to the Sami area.
Thank you. And then I also have two questions for all of three of you. The first is, how does your work within art, but also in JOIK, influence the process of decolonization and indigenization?
You want first? Or?
Okay. Well, I think both in my art and also especially in my map making, that is exactly what I am doing. Because I want to do it. And why do I want to do it? Because there is a need for it to be done, very much. And especially I'm interested to inspire, well, it's also maybe a little bit, I want to, in a humble way, to inspire other indigenous people to work hard for their own survival, through culture and through language and whatever expression they wish.
I think my art basically is mainly for protest. That's why I like to do in the Storgata, and like almost every exhibition I will mention, because a lot of people they really don't know how Norway changed our nationality in a sense. And I think if people don't know these things, it will just fade away. So I think that the things is like almost all my exhibition, because my practice is based on this. So this also part of it. And also I'm learning back my own language just because I'm doing this art practice. So to take back my language is also the process of decolonization. And yeah, I think the protest part is my main art practice.
Well, when I started to be serious about JOIK, then one of my starting points was that I was so happy for Teatnogatte Norat and Nils Aslak that they made JOIK contemporary. And then I asked myself, is it possible to make JOIK contemporary in other ways? And I happened to be a young person who was also politically pretty engaged. And then I started to work with the Wolf JOIK. That I asked myself, is it possible to do something to enhance that and to underline things with that JOIK? So I made this this version that is mine, and you can find an 18-minute version of that on Spotify. This Ulfjoik, where I performed it for the first time in Karesuando in 1979, but it was a yoik that I performed many times when we had the hunger strike in Oslo in 1979. I was a young law student back in those days, and this context helped me very much to design that expression. And then later on, I understood that I'm not alone. I'm actually a little community that I have been walking with spirits since I was a child. So people used to hear when I was coming home that there were somebody who came there 10 minutes, 15 minutes before me. And later in life, when I learned that and how one shall relate to that, then I have understood that I'm kind of an artist collective, that I have some. And some of these artists are making poetry, and it's, for example, this which I then produced with Vayas, this Leche chudi konolu saiti hakshu yamekit go si davas yaude yaborain challe historia. So there the idea was that I use a very explicit and hard poem and a very soft and melodious melody. And this juxtaposition, this is a kind of where melodiosity and poetry, but a hard reality meets. So it's a story about how the Chuli people came and robbed and killed Sami villages. One of these stories are depicted in the movie Pathfinder from 1986. So I have worked in that way, and the big mystery for me has always been where these spirits get this inspiration from. But I guess that will remain a mystery in my life. But they can come and whisper a little poem to me, or they can come and whisper some design to me that, what about making a hoodie with 4 winds and so on. So I have this understanding of myself that I'm an artist collective, and that this artist collective is very into decolonization, and I also think that it is not only a process of decolonization, but I'm also an optimistic person, so I think it is a matter of decolonization and re-civilization, that we will re-civilize after that we have got this colonial practices and structures away. Then we will re-civilize and contribute to a future where our values and approaches to life will help people in the future.
Thank you for your amazing answers. And the second question I have to all three of you is, for me as a young Sami activist, art and yoik is something that can picture and give me a feeling of a situation or a memory that words can't describe. And in your artworks and yoiks, where do you get the inspiration from? Is it from the past, the present, or do you think about the future? Or as Ánde said, is it your ancestors that give you that inspiration and whisper in your ear? Or
For me, it's totally ancestors. My grandfather is is kind of. I feel like I have this duty to do it. I mean, if I don't do it, who is gonna do it? So this is. I just like, for example, like when I come to Tromsø, my portfolio is about I want to do neuroscience with art, but in the end, it just the political tension is gets more and more, and I just feel like, okay, now is I almost don't have a choice to don't do this. I mean, if I don't do it, who else in Tromsø gonna do it? So, and for the present, of course, I got inspired by my surrounding, the Sami culture, and I just hope there will be a brighter future. That's what I'm doing. Otherwise, I won't put all this energy because I want to have a better future for everyone.
What was the question again, please?
where do you get your inspiration from? What do you think about when you make art pieces? Is it, do you think about the present, the future, the past, ancestors?
It's part of my roots, you know. I think it comes up by themselves. And there was once when I was young, and I have asked some Sami ladies to make me a gakti. And I wore that with pride. And then then was a man who told me, if you wear gakti, you also have to speak language. You cannot. I got a bit angry, but I thought, oh, actually, he's right. So I decided I must learn Sami language. And that's why I can kind of speak it. No, the difficulties in writing, but it's improving still, yeah. Was that an answer to your question, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roots.
I brought this with me today. This. Where do I get my inspiration? First of all, I think the most important thing in life is to have fun. That I when I meet an inspiration, a problem, then I used to think first to feel it and relax with that. For example, if I become very angry, then I used to think that, well, I'm very angry and I want to be in my anger and so on. And then later on, I used to think that, is this any fun? And then I used to think that the most important thing in life is to have fun. And I used to have humorous touches, and maybe it doesn't end up as a humorous thing. For example, I have laughed a lot about the presentation today. You should have seen the humoristic version of it. One of the approaches when I, for example, get a disturbing letter or see a disturbing thing, then creatively creatively, I used to work with in this way that first of all, I used to write the letter that I'm not going to send, where I swear and say all the things that I shouldn't say. And then I used to look at that and then I laugh a little bit and then and where does this come from? I think this, I have this notion of the artist collective that I'm sort of a kind of embodiment of, and I think that they pick up things that are from the past, and they pick up things that are from the present, and they also think of things that are in the future, and then they I think they have some kind, they know me and they know what I like, and so they present fun things to me that, and look at this and look at that, should we do that, should we do this? So that's how I work.
Can you explain this?
Yeah, this is
It's very nice.
a little, it's saying living on the, and then I have used the Sami letter edge. So it's a word play on living on the edge in English, but I have used the Sami letter.
I was thinking on the Russian house.
Yeah, and
No, just the set.
yeah,
Which shows so.
yeah, and it is also a part of that, because it's my insistence that Putin and company, they shall not steal our edge. So we are using it. We're still using it. We're having it. So yeah. So I think humor is maybe one very important source of life, and it's very good to have that, because as a legal professional, we read so many boring texts that, and then to think about how can this be humorous? Is this is it possible to laugh of this one?
Thank you for your answers, and I don't have any more questions to the artist, so if anyone in the audience have it, I can give you the mic.
No, it's not really a question, but I was present when you had your defended your doctor thesis. And from then on, because I don't know the real English name for it, uhøytidelig. I knew you didn't take yourself so not høytidelig, because of your dress jacket you had soon on some bits and pieces of something else, and when you now mention the humor, I think it's so important, because it relaxes also the way you want to tell your message. I think it's a very good way of getting contact and to meet with others and get understanding and make people listening to you, not being too high on yourself. So I have followed your designs all the way, and I admire it. It's very nice, especially this hoodie.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I'm very happy for that you mentioned that, because that moment it was also an exam for me, and I thought with myself that if I don't dare to do it when it's important, because it's one of the most important moments in an academic's life to defend your doctorate. And if I conform, and I go into this this defense with a black suit, which is the simplest and easiest thing to do. Then I thought that, well, if I do it now when it's important and now when it matters, then I can look myself in the mirror every morning when I brush my teeth. So I think that humor is so important. So I used to also to stand up for humor. So sometimes I tell jokes even when it's not the moment to do that, but yeah.
Any more questions? No. So if there's nothing more you have in your heart to tell, then I think we can round up. And thank you everyone who's been listening. I hope you will enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.